That's how we all die.
Unsurprisingly, the first words out of Amber Heard's mouth on the witness stand were a lie.
Okay. Now, why are you here?
I am here because my ex-husband is suing me for an op-ed I wrote.
And how do you feel?
But then we get to the bottom line of this op-ed written by Amber Heard, and guess what? She didn't write it. She didn't even write it. It was written like by PR people. Are you kidding me? An op-ed about your life, and you didn't actually write it. What a development today. What a development inside the courtroom as this testimony gets in front of the jury. This whole thing is about Amber Heard penning, right? We always say penning the op-ed. When we learn today, I don't even know if she wrote a word of it.
What the only real evidence Your Honor has is Plaintiff's Exhibit 1, which is Amber Heard putting her name on the entire article, including the title. That is the only evidence before you. The ACLU was a co-conspirator with Ms. Heard. Oh, maybe.
Okay, if we could move ahead, please, to Exhibit 41. This is another one of these, well, it's not that long. Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
What is it?
These are further communications among employees, staff members in the development department regarding the placement of Amber's ad and the finalization of the op-ed piece. Not ad, I'm sorry, op-ed and the finalization of it.
The placement of Amber's ad.
And others at the Washington, well, I'll just say Michael Larrabee. Who is Michael Larrabee?
Michael Larrabee appears to be a person who was a contact that Stacey Sullivan had at the Washington Post. And so she reached out to him first about placing the ad, and then
about placing the ad. The placement of Amber's ad. About placing the ad.
What's up, guys? My name's Scott Bartnick. I'm one of the co-founders of AutoPR, and I'm an expert in media relations. So let's start off with what is earned media. So earned media is any organic placement that you get in the media. So that could be a newspaper article, a TV feature, but one of the important things is earned and organic. So this means that you've gotten it for free because your story is good. That's one of the biggest things we do here at AutoPR is we pitch your story to the media to get you earned placements. So why is this so important? It is an opportunity for you to tell your story in front of people that actually care. The reason why you get earned media is because the outlets themselves think that your story is interesting and they think that their audience is going to relate to it. Now, how do you get earned media? Getting earned media is fairly simple. You have to tell your story in a concise way that, again, the outlet thinks that it's going to benefit their audience. So at AutoPR, we do that through what we call a pitch. Basically, we're taking your story, we're condensing it into 1 or 2 paragraphs. We're telling the outlet specifically why they want to run this story, why they want to interview you, what your company is doing that's unique, and why their audience cares. At the end of the day, when it comes to media and stories, everything is kind of a currency. So if you think about your story, it's a currency for the outlet to get clicks and to get traffic. So if you have a way or a story that's meaningful and will bring in more views to their outlet, they're more than likely going to run it. All right.
There's no, like, why didn't they even go with an NDA? Because this is a flagrant violation of their non-disclosure agreement. Well, I'm going to say sources confirmed. That's how I'm going to go with that. Sources confirmed. If they would have gone forward with a non-disclosure, everyone would have still seen it as guilty. That lingering effect that you noted, it would still be there. So you have to, in order to present the actual case and to present it to the public, this isn't just about a court case. There's also the court of public opinion. You have to uncancel yourself in 2 ways these days.
Yes, agree. And for anybody that isn't familiar, you're referring to when you say the non-disclosure agreement, you're referring to the non-disclosure agreement in their divorce settlement, yes, right? That basically said that both parties agree they're not going to talk about what happened during their marriage, during their relationship. And so obviously Amber Heard's Washington Post article was a huge violation of that because although she didn't necessarily talk about, naming him specifically, maybe she thought that she was like getting around that NDA by being a little bit vague.
Did you see the did you see the ACLU letters to her? Have you looked through all those yet?
No, but I have heard about them.
Okay, well, they specifically, they have early drafts of that, and they very specifically talk about, hey, do you like how we dodged your NDA? Hey, they say things like that. And they have lines that are now removed from the early versions, but they talked about during blah, 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 and it'll add a sentence like, when I was married before I got my TRO. So, it tells you exactly who she's talking about.
Yeah. And if you do read the Washington Post op-ed, it's clear that she's talking about him. So it's like, it's always interesting to me, to what extent people think that they're going to get around a certain restriction, when it's like, if they had taken a step back and been like, will anyone out there question who this is about? And is there some kind of a legal repercussion of that? It's I don't know. It's one of those things that it really made me kind of wonder the logical reasoning of the folks that were kind of a part of crafting that whole op-ed.
Well, you could see, like in the letters, they wanted to address the new Congress, and they wanted to talk about the Violence Against Women Act, and it was the ACLU. They were right there, clearly, presently. They were using the Trump administration. They say quite a bit about it, and it's very flagrant. It's very much so. And they, again, they're going to enrich themselves by making him the face of violence against women.
Can't let Orm find this.
Hey, wait! Oh.
What?
You'll know how this works, right? Follow the money. Everyone involved had something to gain. Not least Warner Brothers. The Washington Post sold newspapers and gained clicks. The ACLU got a massive donation, and Heard herself earned status as a women's rights activist.
This is a series of communications among people in our communications department around engaging Amber on our programmatic work, specifically relating to her being an ACLU ambassador.
Let's now turn back to the email starting on ACLU 47. Bottom of the page from Gary Johnson to Jody Gottlieb and others.
Yeah.
Purportedly dated November 6, 2018. Who's Jerry Johnson?
Jerry Johnson was a more junior person in our communications department. His title was Communications Department Strategist. And strategists are often communications department associates that have expertise in and do work in a select number of our issue areas.
Okay, he writes, I'd like your and Amber's thoughts on doing an op-ed in which she discusses the ways in which survivors of gender-based violence have been made less safe under the Trump administration and how people can take action. Why was the ACLU recommending that Amber write on that subject?
with Amber agreeing to be an ambassador and to work on women's rights issues and in particular issues of gender-based violence, Jerry was coming up with specific things that were of significant policy importance to the ACLU that could be the subject matter of an op-ed written by Amber.
Directing your attention a few lines down, he uses the acronym GBV. What does that mean?
Gender-based violence.
Then further down, he says, if she feels comfortable, she can interweave her personal story, saying how painful it is as a GBV survivor to witness these setbacks. What is the ACLU referring to when it talks about her personal story?
There were a number of things that Amber had expressed from her personal story about her having been a survivor of gender-based violence. And so one of the things that we do with ambassadors is we want them to tell authentic stories about our issues in the public, and to the extent that they have any personal direct experiences, for that to be part of their story for the public.
So the ACLU was not forcing her to relate her own experience with GBV. It was leaving it up to Ms. Heard's discretion, correct?
Correct.
And Exhibit 31 was prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, correct?
Correct.
And it was maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, correct?
Correct.
Let's move to Exhibit 33, please. Mr. Doherty, asking you to please look at Exhibit 33 and ask whether you've ever seen this before.
I have.
See the email from Robin Schulman to Jessica Weitz dated November 14th at 10:58 a.m.?
Yes.
Who is Jessica Schulman?
Robin Schulman is a person in the communications department who is no longer with us, but who had expertise in issues involving gender issues.
Well, you anticipated my next question. Is Robin Schulman still at the ACLU?
No.
And is she an attorney?
I don't know whether she's an attorney. A number of our communications department staff members are, but I don't know. She wasn't working as an attorney.
Ms. Schulman is asking Ms. Weitz, what's the status of this situation? What situation was she referring to?
The situation is whether we are going to be doing an op-ed with Amber.
Okay, and moving up on the page, there's an email from Jerry Johnson who says, quote, Jess had drinks with Amber last night, and it sounds like she was able to confirm with her that we'll be doing the first draft.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
It is often a decision has to be made when we're working with ambassadors or with other people who are speaking to the public, who does the first draft of the document. So it sounds here that Jerry is saying that that from Jess's conversation with Amber, we are moving forward with some kind of an op-ed, and that ACLU communications department staff members would be writing the first draft of it.
And Jess refers to Jessica Weitz?
Yes.
Okay, let's please turn to Exhibit 35, please. Have you ever seen this document before, Mr. Doherty?
And yes, I have seen this document. Thanks, Michael. I didn't.
And what is it?
This is a series of communications about the. It's the result of a series of communications about the op-ed that Amber, under Amber's name, took place with a media outlet. And so this is Jessica Weitz sending a draft of that to Amber.
Great. And let's go to the first email first, the email that starts in the second half of ACLU 185. It purports to be from Robin Schulman to Jessica Whites on November 29. Do you see that?
I do.
And is she attaching the first draft of the op-ed to that email?
So I assumed that it was not an attachment, but it was just pasted into an email, but I can't tell from this. I don't see anybody saying attached. So it could be either, but what I see this as is Robin sending a note to Jess Weiss for Jess Weiss to then forward to Amber.
Understood. Robin says, I tried to gather your fire and rage and really interesting analysis and shape that into an op-ed form. What does that refer to?
That refers to the effort for our ACLU ambassadors to speak publicly in a way that is impactful, that is shows the importance of the issues and how important they are personally to individuals. And in this case, therefore, Amber's passion for working on gender-based violence issues and speaking about it, and that she has an analysis that is one that Robin finds interesting.
And so when she's referring to fire and rage, that's Ms. Hurd's fire and rage, correct?
Yeah, that's my read of this, even though I recognize that it is confusing because it's an email from Robin to Jess.
And the rage would be directed against Johnny Depp, who purportedly abused her, correct?
I didn't take it to mean that. I took it to mean fire and rage about gender-based violence issues.
Was it your understanding that it was Robin Schulman who prepared the first draft of the op-ed?
Yes.
Okay. And Robin says to Jessica, your lawyers should review this for the way I skirted around talking about your marriage. Whose lawyers is she referring to there?
I believe these are Amber's regular advisors or who were involved in the review negotiation of the NDA between Amber and Johnny Depp.
And then if you direct your attention to the top email from Jessica Whites to Amber Heard, she says to Amber, apologies for the delay, but we have needed to pass this through quite a few lawyers. What lawyers did Jessica Whites pass the op-ed through?
These were lawyers in the Women's Rights Project of the ACLU, plus the director of the Center for Liberty, the deputy legal director of the ACLU who runs the Center for Liberty, within which is the Women's Rights Project, and even the legal director of the ACLU who runs the whole legal department, our programmatic litigation work on behalf of civil liberties, David Cole.
But it never got to your level, correct?
Well, David Cole is at my level, just to be clear. He also reports to the executive director, but it never got to me or anybody on my team.
No one asked you to review the first draft of the op-ed?
No.
Did anybody ever ask you to review any drafts of the op-ed, including the final draft that was published in the Washington Post?
No.
She says, I want to make sure nothing was said in here that puts you in jeopardy with your NDA. What does that refer to?
The non-disclosure agreement that was entered into between Depp and Heard in connection with the dissolution of their marriage and the settlement agreement.
Okay, and is this a document that was prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it kept in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
All right, let's move please to Exhibit 37. Have you ever seen Exhibit 37 before?
Yes.
What is it?
This is a draft of the op-ed that Robin is sending to Amber after a conversation that they had to discuss the issues in the op-ed, and in particular, to have a conversation about the op-ed, and then she sends her changes that were made to the op-ed that were relating to things that Robin and Amber discussed during that meeting.
And to be clear, this next draft of the op-ed reflects changes that Robin Schulman made after she met in person with Amber Heard. Is that correct?
Correct.
What did Ms. Schulman and Ms. Heard discuss during their in-person meeting?
My understanding is that they discussed some of the personal experiences that Amber Heard has had that that Robin used to incorporate into the op-ed.
And isn't it true that Ms. Heard's advisors initially revised the draft to remove any reference to Ms. Heard's marriage or divorce?
I recall a number of email communications back and forth among ACLU personnel and Ms. Heard's attorneys where they were suggesting edits to the op-ed relating to matters covered in the NDA.
And then isn't it also true that there were some at the ACLU who expressed their belief that excising those references to her marriage and divorce from Johnny Depp made the op-ed less impactful, correct?
It is correct. That is correct.
But ultimately, based on those voices, Ms. Heard pushed to get that excised material back into the op-ed so it could be more impactful. True?
That's not my understanding. My understanding is that the language that wound up in the final op-ed piece was very different from the original language that Robin included in the op-ed after having spoken with Amber about her personal experiences.
And how was it different?
It did not refer directly to Ms. Heard's relationship with Johnny Depp.
Okay, let's move ahead, please, to Exhibit 38.
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
And is this one of the documents you reviewed in preparation for your deposition?
Yes.
What does this relate to?
So this relates to Stacy Sullivan, who reported to Terry Tang, and her role with respect to this op-ed piece was to think about the best place to place it and to make the contacts with the media in order to get it placed.
And she suggests here that the outlets that the ACLU and Ms. Heard was considering were the New York Times, the Washington Post, Team Vogue, and USA Today. Is that correct?
So not Stacy, but Jerry, who I think you said she, Jerry is a he, and Jerry wrote some suggested places to place this after having had conversations with Amber.
And Jerry's suggestions were the New York Times, Washington Post, Team Vogue, or USA Today, is that correct?
Correct.
Whose responsibility was to place the op-ed? Was it the ACLU's, Ms. Hurd's, or some combination of the two?
The work to place the op-ed was taken on by the ACLU, in that we have in our communications department people with expertise and who regularly do just that kind of work. But as we can see from this email, it was done in consultation with Amber Heard.
And Mr. Johnson writes, since the draft turned out pretty strong and Aquaman slated to do large numbers, I'm wondering what you think about it. What does she mean by saying the draft turned out pretty strong?
This appears to be the analysis of how broad-based and how what kind of reach the media outlets where we can place this will have, and that media outlets are more likely to take on publishing an op-ed like this if it is a strong one, and if it is, and to the extent that it is written by a person who's an entertainer or a well-known person, that the more they are in the public eye at the time, the more likely it will be accepted by a more prominent or broader reach media outlet. And so that's the sort of descending media outlets are in descending terms in terms of descending, likelihood of, descending importance and reach, but greater likelihood from, for example, as we go down that list.
And Amber's referencing her own direct personal experience and her marriage to Johnny Depp makes it a stronger product, correct?
I think that the Amber's contributions to the portion of the op-ed that talks about personal experiences is part of what informed the view that this was a strong op-ed, and the importance of the women's rights issues referred to in the op-ed, in that some of them were very timely women's rights issues before Congress.
And Ms. Heard had a co-starring role in Aquaman, correct?
I don't know whether she was a co-star, but I know that that was a film that she was in.
And didn't she tell the ACLU that she wanted the op-ed to come out just after Aquaman was released?
I do recall that there was a conversation about the optimal timing for the op-ed piece.
And as part of that conversation, Ms. Heard said in words or substance that she wanted the op-ed to come out soon after Aquaman, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Who did she relate that to?
I don't recall, although I believe that there's documents that we produced that can shed some light on that.
Is Exhibit 38 kept in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it prepared by people with knowledge and prepared in a contemporaneous manner?
Yes, it was.
And it was made in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, true?
True.
Okay, if we could move ahead, please, to Exhibit 41. This is another one of these, well, it's not that long.
Yes, sir, stand by.
Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
What is it?
These are further communications among employees, staff members in the development department regarding the placement of Amber's ad and the finalization of the op-ed piece. Not ad, I'm sorry, op-ed and the finalization of it.
Great, and if we could move ahead, please, to ACLU 257. and specifically the email from Robin Schulman to Jessica Weitz on December 11th, continuing on to the next, or strike that. Let's go to the email on the last line, Jessica Weitz's email. She says, team.
What's the timestamp? What's the timestamp on the email that you're referring to?
I'm sorry. This is December 11th email at 11:05 a.m.
Okay.
From Jessica Weitz. You see that? Okay. And she says, Amber sent back the op-ed with final edits from her legal team, which specifically neutered much of the copy regarding her marriage and the domestic violence. Do you see that?
I do.
Is that consistent with your recollection?
I'm not sure about the use of the term neutered here, but I do know that her lawyers removed references to her marriage and divorce.
And then she writes, the goal is to get this out this week to capitalize on the tremendous campaign for Aquaman. What does that mean?
That means, from the ACLU's perspective, that Amber is about to receive an incredible amount of press and be in the public eye. So what better a time would it be than now to put out this op-ed so that it generates significant readership about our issues?
And Amber agreed with the ACLU on that point, correct?
I believe the answer is yes. Every step of the way we were making these decisions with Amber's PR representatives involved.
Okay, let's move back to an email in the middle of 257.
Okay.
And it is from Jessica Weitz, timestamped 11:09 a.m. on December 11th, 2018.
Okay.
Robin, her lawyers omitted the below, but Amber would love to see a way to have that part in bold somehow put back in. Is there an artful way to do that? Otherwise, she is okay with the final. 2 years ago, I sought a temporary restraining order from my then husband. Ellipses was changed to 2 years ago after successfully acquiring a temporary restraining order, but still not cleared by her lawyers. Do you see that?
I do.
Is that consistent with your understanding about what Ms. Heard's desires were?
Yeah, I trust Jessica White's relationship with Amber so that when Jessica told Robin that that was something Amber wanted, I have no reason to think that that's not correct.
Okay, and finally, let's look at the beginning. The first email in Exhibit 41 from Stacy Sullivan to Jessica Weitz says, yes, and I need to read the latest version. And Robin told me Amber's lawyers took out some of the stuff that made it really powerful. So let me look to see if I think it's strong enough for top tier. What did she mean by top tier?
I think from Stacy's perspective, the more powerful a document is, the more likely it will go into a top tier news outlet such as the New York Times or the Washington Post, you know, that sort of descending tiering that was in Jerry Johnson's email.
Okay. And is Exhibit 41 kept in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Was it prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business by people having knowledge and done so contemporaneously?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's move ahead to 43. Directing your attention to the first page in Exhibit 43 from Jessica Weitz to Sean Waltz. Who is Sean Walsh?
Sean Walsh at www.consulting.com. I don't know who that is. This is an email that includes in it people other than ACLU employees and ACLU consultants. So I'm assuming it's somebody relating to, one of Amber's representatives, but I don't know for sure.
Do you know who Eric George is?
George, BGR firm. Yes, Eric George was one of Amber's attorneys.
And she's announcing to the group that it's going to the Washington Post, a triple exclamation points.
Correct.
Take it the ACLU was pleased that it was placed in the Washington Post.
Correct.
And I believe you testified earlier, but I just want to confirm for the record, the ACLU took on the responsibility of attempting to place the op-ed, correct?
Correct.
And why the ACLU instead of Amber or her PR team?
Placing op-eds about matters such as this is the kind of thing that is the bread and butter for the ACLU. And so I don't recall if a conversation happened about whether her PR people or our PR people should be in the ones that do the work to place this, but it is fully consistent with how we do our work that we placed this one.
All right, let's go back to Exhibit 42, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Have you ever seen this document before, Mr. Doherty?
I am familiar with this document.
Is this one of the documents you reviewed in preparation for this deposition today?
Yes.
Was it made in the ordinary course of ACLU's business by people having knowledge and doing so contemporaneously?
Correct, yes.
Was it maintained by the ACLU in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
Would you please direct your attention, sir, to page Bates number 1181. In the middle of the page purports to be an email from Stacey Sullivan, Michael Larrabee, and others at the Washington, well, I'll just say Michael Larrabee. Who is Michael Larrabee?
Michael Larrabee appears to be a person who was a contact that Stacey Sullivan had at the Washington Post. And so she reached out to him first about placing the ad. And then because she received a bounce back out of office from Mike Larrabee, she sent her original request to Michael Duffy and Mark Laswell, also at Washington Post.
And what was the purpose of her sending them this email?
This was her attempt to get the op-ed placed.
And she writes, "Hey, Michael, wondering if we might interest you in a piece by Amber Heard, who, as you may recall, was beaten up during her brief marriage to Johnny Depp, on what the incoming Congress can do to help protect women in similar situations." Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you read it correctly.
All right, let's look, please. Let's turn to Exhibit 73.
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Doherty, have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
Is this the online copy of the op-ed that the ACLU placed?
Yes.
Directing your attention to the title, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. Who came up with that title?
Based on my investigation, I'm not aware of I'm not aware that the ACLU had any role in writing the name of the op-ed piece. And my understanding of how op-ed pieces work is that it is the the media, in this case, the Washington Post, would have drafted the name of the title of the op-ed and not the person who wrote the op-ed.
Did the Washington Post seek the ACLU's or Ms. Heard's approval of its title?
I believe the answer to that is no. There's nothing in the evidence that shows that they reached out to us to do that, and it is inconsistent with my understanding in that these news outlets do not usually ask for the permission of the author of the op-ed for when they come up with the title.
Hello, Mr. Doherty. Would you please, or would the technician please call up Exhibit 45? Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen Plaintiff's Exhibit 45, which is Bates number ACLU 623?
Hold on, I'm just making it a little bigger. Okay, yes, I have seen this document.
And is this one of the documents you reviewed in preparation for your deposition?
That's correct.
And what is it?
This is an article that was in US Today and specifically ties Amber's statements in her op-ed piece to Johnny Depp.
And when Jessica White says so much for not mentioning JD, what did she mean?
I speculate that she was saying that there were significant efforts made by Amber's attorneys to take out the references to Johnny Depp and her marriage, and yet nonetheless people made that connection.
And in particular, the reporter for the USA Today took her to be referring to Johnny Depp when she spoke of being the victim of domestic violence, correct?
Correct.
Was this document prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business contemporaneously by people having knowledge?
Yes, it was.
Was it maintained by the ACLU in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
And would you please move ahead now to Exhibit 46?
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Mr. Doherty, have you ever seen Exhibit 46, which is ACLU Bates number 1287?
Yes.
What is it?
This is a statement by Robin Schulman saying that that the article that they're referring to basically, recasts everything that is said, but ties it to Johnny Depp.
So Ms. Schulman is agreeing with Mrs. White's characterization that the USA took Ms. Heard to be referring to her allegations of physical violence by Johnny Depp, correct?
Yes.
And she says it's kind of amazing that they just grabbed the entire op-ed and rewrote it using Johnny's name. Why was it amazing?
I don't know why she found it amazing.
Because that was consistent with your understanding. She was referring at least in part to Johnny Depp, correct?
Yeah, based on my review of prior drafts of the op-ed, I knew that there were that she was referring to Johnny Depp and her marriage.
Was Exhibit 46 prepared in the ordinary course of business by people having knowledge contemporaneously?
Yes.
Was it maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
Okay, let's move to Exhibit 59, please, which is Bates numbers ACLU 2614 through 2616.
Okay.
Have you ever seen this document before?
Just going to the beginning. Yes.
And what is it?
This is a conversation among ACLU employees regarding what were the amounts contributed to the ACLU that were connected to our relationship with Ms. Heard.
And is this Exhibit 59 kept in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business?
Yes.
And it was prepared contemporaneously by people with knowledge in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, correct?
Correct.
And looking at the chart on ACLU 2615, this is the same contributions chart that you testified about earlier from Salesforce, correct?
Correct.
And again, as in the prior exhibit, this chart or ledger does not reflect the $100,000 contribution from Johnny Depp in Amber Heard's name in August of 2016, correct?
Correct.
And you still can't account for why that wouldn't have been included?
We assume that there was an error made in not including that in Ms. Heard's account, where we keep the records of her in Salesforce. Although Anthony, as you see, then raised the very question, what about the $100,000?
And directing your attention to the first page in this exhibit, do you see the email from Mr. Romero to Mr. Moresco? Subject, a quick question. Mr. Romero asked, did Elon's other gifts come from Vanguard? To what does that refer?
My personal knowledge is that Anthony was just asking whether other gifts from Elon Musk had been issued from recommendations he made to Vanguard regarding his donor-advised fund at Vanguard.
And Mr. Moresco then responds, one of them, yes. His $5 million gift in February 2017 was from Vanguard. Do you see that?
I see it.
And if you look at the next page, Vanguard was the same entity that made the soft credit contribution in Amber Heard's name to the tune of $500,000, correct?
Correct.
And he says, in any case, my understanding was that the $500,000 from Vanguard was recommended by EM. Do you see that?
Yes.
And EM stands for Elon Musk, correct?
Correct.
And also in that email above that, Mr. Moresco states that Mr. Musk's $1 million gift in May 2018 was from Fidelity. Do you see that?
Yes, he must have. Either that means a separate donor advised fund he has at Fidelity, or from Fidelity, in direct investment accounts he has at Fidelity. I'm assuming the former, but I don't know.
And if you look at the next page in the Salesforce chart, the second payment credited to Ms. Heard for $350,000 as of December 11th, 2018, came from that same Fidelity, correct?
I don't know the answer to that question. I know that it came from a Fidelity donor advised fund, the $350,000, but I don't know if it is Elon Musk's donor advised fund at Fidelity.
But it could be.
It could be.
Okay, let's move, thank you, on to 61, please, which is Bates number ACLU 1669 through 71. directing your attention to the last email in this exhibit from Jill Sargent to Inga Sarda Sorensen and Tyler Richard. Who were Inga Sarda Sorensen and Tyler Richard?
Inga and Tyler are both senior communications department strategists in our communications department.
Okay. And Ms. Sargent from Reuters asked, I'm preparing some material while awaiting a verdict in the Johnny Depp libel trial in London and wanted to fact check Amber Heard's current previous links with the ACLU. Do you recall that Mr. Depp's that this is a reference to Mr. Depp's defamation case in the UK against The Sun?
It appears to me that that's the trial she's referring to.
Okay, directing your attention, please, to page number ACLU 1670, the email from Jessica Whites to Tyler Richards. Do you see where Ms. Whites writes, the answer is yes, she's still an ambassador. That's a reference to Ms. Heard still being an ACLU ambassador, correct?
Correct.
And Ms. Whites writes, quote, she donated her full settlement to charity, 50% to the ACLU and 50% to another organization. That's a reference to Ms. Heard's representation that she donated the full amount of her divorce settlement from Johnny Depp to charity, correct?
Correct.
And that statement was not true. She had not donated the full amount of her settlement, $7 million, to the ACLU or the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, correct?
At the time that Jess Whites wrote this in July of 2020, Ms. Heard had not donated her full settlement to the ACLU, and I'm not aware of what she did to the other organization.
At the time Ms. Whites wrote that, the ACLU was still $2.2 million short, even if you credit Ms. Heard with the $100,000 that Johnny Depp gave to the ACLU, correct?
At the time that she wrote this, we had received the 1.3, so yes, 2.2 million of the full 3.5 million we had not received.
Have you seen this document before?
This is Jessica Whites reaching out to the communications department in order to come up with a correct statement that we could make in response to the Reuters article. And she comes up with recommended language on this that she then wants to confirm with our development department. So she is doing diligence to ensure that anything we say to the media is going to be correct.
Let's move ahead to Exhibit 63. Do you have that in front of you?
I'm just making it larger right now. It just arrived.
You ever seen this document before?
Yes.
What is it?
This is back and forth between Richard Tyler in the communications department, Jessica Whites, and another communications department junior person, Ava Lopez. And it all concerns what we can say to, what we should say to Reuters in response to their question about Amber and her contributions to the ACLU.
And this was prepared in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, correct?
Correct.
And it was prepared and maintained in the ordinary course of the ACLU's business, true?
True. Correct.
Let's look at the second page of the exhibit, an email from Tyler Richard to Jessica Whites. Mm-hmm. Who is Tyler Richard?
It's Richard Tyler, and it's Tyler Richard. That's right, Tyler Richard, and he is a senior person in our communications department.
And Mr. Richard says, Amber Heard is an ACLU ambassador for women's rights since 2018. She also pledged her full settlement to charity. Do you see that?
I do.
And Ms. White's responds, yeah, I think that's safer. I had nightmares about this last night. I'm very upset. Do you think this is okay? Why was Ms. White so upset about the characterization of Ms. Heard's charitable donations or lack thereof?
My understanding is that as a communications department professional, Jessica was concerned about these news articles that were appearing and what impact they would have on, how the ACLU and its work with Amber is seen.
She was concerned that the ACLU was not telling the truth about Amber's paying the $3.5 million, correct?
I don't see it that way. I see it as her doing everything she can in order to produce a correct statement to the press.
Wouldn't the correct statement to the press be that she's short $2.3 million?
As I testified earlier, that's not the kind of thing that we would ever say about a donor to the ACLU. Instead, we would, especially when it isn't the fact that there was any specific time period by which we were supposed to have received any specific amount of money, considering that she didn't sign the pledge agreement, and therefore, there's an attempt. So as an organization, we attempt to work with our donors who are having financial difficulties in order to receive, the funding from them that they want to give to us. So no, I don't see this. I don't know. We would, in that sort of scenario, we would never say she's short anything.
Directing your attention to the email at page number ACLU 1700 from Ms. White's to Mr. Richard, dated July 31. She says, I'm just stressed about her and the difficulties with all this. Who is her?
Assume that is Amber Heard.
Why was Ms. White stressed about Amber Heard?
Because this is a stressful thing to have these kinds of news reports out there, and in particular about an ACLU ambassador.
What kind of news reports are you referring to?
What I believe the Reuters article, from the Reuters article.
And what did the news article say that was distressing?
I think it was the tie between the attempts to make Ms. Heard look poorly in the press regarding her donations.
But did you talk to Ms. White in preparation for this deposition?
Yes, I did.
What did she tell you about the donations and how she was stressed about Ms. Heard?
Ms. White didn't say anything specific about that.
You didn't ask her about why she said she was stressed about Amber Heard and the difficulties with all this?
I believed in reviewing the documents that I had an understanding of why this was a difficult situation for many people.
So the answer is you didn't ask her about that, did you?
I did not ask her that question.
I guess we'll have to. Did you ask her about the nightmares she had about Amber Heard and why she had what the substance of her nightmares were about Amber Heard?
No, I did not.